again, like what I told the guys is we played some really pretty games early on in the season, and we lost on these margins. Tonight, second half, obviously with the ball, the standard was not up to snuff, but I think the grit, the determination, and the ability to, like you said, defend well in and around our box and defend set pieces was a big step for our group, and I think as we head towards the end of the season, these performances should build confidence when the game isn't going your way. And instead of absolving yourself of defensive responsibilities, you got everyone on the field working their tails off to keep the 3 points. And I think that's a big step for us. Again, like I say, after every game, there's a lot of stuff we need to continue to improve upon, but just really proud of the mentality of the group tonight in that second half in particular.
You mentioned, maybe not playing pretty games. It seems like William Agata, he's maybe doesn't have the prettiest plays on offense, but he seems to always be in the right place and gets the job done. The goal tonight was a great example of that. The header doesn't go, but he sticks with it, gets the goals. He just kind of like that gritty type of forward that is just, he's going to get his, but it's not always going to be pretty.
Yeah, I think that's Willie. He's a bulldozer in and around goal. He puts his body on the line. I think he had first contact on the corner, stayed with it. So I think his bravery in that area is really important. He's been doing well in training, and I think it's great that he got his opportunity tonight and took it. Really important goal for us, and obviously culminated in 3 points.
Pablo?
Whether Caliscan was defending a lot because they were picking on him or because he happened to be matched up with a player they wanted to play through, he had to defend a lot tonight. The crowd gave him an ovation when he came off. What did you see from him?
I thought he was exceptional. I think Noel, and I've said this in the past, is one of the brightest footballers on our team. Really thinks the game. There's not a training session where he doesn't ask one of the coaches to work 1v1 defending with him. And this is a player that has always typically played in the middle of the field, and now he's going outside. And so the amount of commitment he has towards his craft, it doesn't surprise me. That the winger there is one of the most dynamic players, and then it becomes a game of psychology, right? When you go up against Noel and he stuffs you 2 or 3 times, then it starts to wane on your opponent's psychology. And I just thought his positioning, his decisions, whether he cleared it or whether he found a teammate, top level. It was by far his best performance that I've seen as a pro, but it's starting to become standard for him.
Given the fact that Ojeda's now yellow card accumulation, does Emeka and Ellie get cleared to start? Does Caliscan move inside and maybe Bodie? It's 3 games in 8 days. They're coming fast.
Yeah, more than likely the latter will be the case. Emeka, again, we had a fight and scratch to get him dressed tonight, to get him a couple minutes. I think he can continue to improve his minutes, but again, he's been out for 6 weeks, has been training with the team now for 3 or 4 days. So I think it's a bit of a stretch, and really in either of these 2 games to get a start. So again, next guy has to step up. Bodie's going to come in. Noel's got to play the middle of the field, and the other part of that too. I think Pablo had a really good performance tonight with the ball, against the ball, and I think he's gaining confidence, gaining fitness, and starting to see the Pablo Ruiz before these injuries, which is really exciting for the group. So we'll see how the dust settles after tonight, and put the group out there that we feel is going to be the best for this game against Portland.
You've talked about mentality a lot this season. How did that show up in tonight's match for you guys?
Yeah, like I said, I think in the beginning of the season when we weren't good with the ball, there was oftentimes 2 or 3 players that would absolve themselves of the defensive work, and I think that also happens because you're getting results, and so we can talk about these things from a coaching perspective. I think the group feels as one. In other words, like everyone has a role to play to make this thing move forward. The amount of work that Diego and Ari and Willie did and Gozo defensively was critical tonight. We don't take those 3 points, we probably end up losing that game. So, that's what I mentioned to the group is that life will throw curveballs at you, the game will throw curveballs at you, and ask real questions. And tonight, I think the guys answered them really well.
And then what does a win like this do for the group heading into the next stretch of games for you guys?
Yeah, again, I think it's the confidence piece. We keep talking about, before we got back from the break, we needed 10 wins to put ourselves in contention for the playoff spot. You know, and I think we got 3 out of the last 4. And again, I think it starts confidence, momentum, and then also how your opponents start to perceive you as different. And I think that's a huge factor in this. So again, a real gritty performance, definitely not something you chalk up on the board. But again, I think the human spirit trumps tactics any day of the week, and the guys showed it in spades tonight.
Pablo, congrats on the win again. I want to ask you about the formation. It seems like the formation today was more like a 4-2-4, more attacking. Is that because of the way Houston was set in the game, or something new that you tried today?
Just a little bit of both. You know, I think the one thing that we've changed coming into break was, you know, putting two players up there that can stretch, and that's worked really well. And then putting Luna and Diogo in a position that I feel they really enjoy, playing underneath. At times they got a little bit wide, and so again, this is our first go at it, but really want them in positions where we can break lines and turn, and then release forwards or release our outside backs. And so I think for our first run offensively, I think the first 25 minutes were really solid. But when you don't have a lot of the ball, you spend a lot of energy chasing it, and you know, to be you got to take your hat off to Houston. They're a really good team. You know, the result last week against San Diego away from home speaks volumes of what they're capable of. And so again, I'm really proud of the way we handled them. But we'll continue to fine-tune that. And see if we can't make those 25 minutes more like 70, 75 as we progress forward.
My other question is, 2 games, 2 goals off of set pieces. Is that just the fruit of the product of the guys working and training, or just a little bit of luck as well?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. The universe is a crazy thing. I'd have a hard time explaining how that works. But we've been really deliberate in our training of set pieces, and I think for any piece, you got to have a good ball put in a very dangerous area, and then you have to be brave. And I think on the goal tonight, Pablo put in a good ball in a dangerous area. Willie had first contact and then got the rebound. So it's a bit of fortune, but you have to be consistent where the ball's being delivered and the guys being brave enough to capitalize on it.
We're going to toss it to Maddie over on Zoom. Maddie, go ahead.
Hey, Pablo. Earlier in the year, it seemed like there were a lot of games where RSL was dropping points in the flukiest and weirdest of ways. What does it say to you about the group's grit, their belief in the process, their trust in each other and in the staff, that you all stayed together, nobody ever put their heads down, and now that's two in a row where you're getting these 1-goal wins?
Yeah, that's a great question, Maddie. You know, I think when you suffer as much as we did in the first part and felt so hard done by, whether it was red cards or you know, giving up late PKs, whatever the case of, I think when you suffer enough, you have 2 choices. One, you can go on your own and go rogue, or you can band together and take those experiences as a learning moment. And you know, I couldn't be more proud of the group, and just a great leadership group, a great group of guys that really want to make our fans proud and our club proud. And that's something that's spoken about often, and I think tonight's gritty performance is a reflection of that.
Thank you. And then last one for me, with the match coming up so quick on Wednesday, what does it mean for you seeing the guys coming off the bench put in such strong performances for the group?
Yeah, I think that's another aspect of our team that's changed drastically since the beginning part of the season, where there was moments where we just weren't getting a spark. You know, I think these guys tonight came in and did a wonderful job. Ari, you know, Phil, all the guys that came in did a fantastic job. Vera, and so again, I think in the beginning of the season there was a lot of questions of some of the how we can change the game from the guys coming into the game in critical moments. Are we up a goal? So what's the focus? We got to it's maintain the lead. Second is to try to find the second goal, not the other way around. And so I think tonight the guys really took it upon themselves to dig in a difficult game and find a way to get a result. So super proud of them and grateful for the book you handed over to me. I started digging into it today, and I think there's a lot to take away from that book. So grateful to you, Maddie, for enlightening me on the study of Zen, which is I love that space.
Thank you so much.
Pablo, early on, Goza was getting him behind all the time. We're seeing less of that. We saw almost none of it tonight. Is that because of the way teams are defending him, but he's aware of his speed? He's also doing a lot of deep defending, so maybe he's just not in position. What's happening?
Yeah, well, no, again, I think Gozo's still doing a good job. There's a couple plays where he was on, but we weren't looking for it. But I think that's the mechanism, right? If you have stretch, the back line has a choice. You can drop with them. So the way we want to break that down is if Gozo's on, play it. You're in on goal. If he's not down, that means the back line is dropped. You should find your 10s. And that's what I was talking about a little earlier about our 10s being too wide at times. If we're in central positions now, we get it. He recirculates his run, and now he's running off a back shoulder of a center back. So, and then with Goza again, like, you know, he's been playing so far above the expectations. It's incredible. And he's still obviously learning a lot on the fly. And teams might, you know, they're probably going to play him a little bit more man-to-man. And so we have to find a mechanism as a team that if he's opening space for people, we got to find those people that are open, which will be Diego and Diogo, and then find him on the second action. So he's doing great, you know, and I think the defending part is something that he's still trying to come to terms with. Is, you know, we tweak things from game to game, and for a young man that's prides himself on being a great attacking player, the defensive part is also really important. So, again, I'm really proud of Gozo, and obviously, you know, he's been an impetus to the results in the last 4 games.
When you did get him the ball, it seemed to come through Calascan. It seemed like there were wide spaces, and on the left side for Catranas too. Are teams going to pack in the middle of the field? Are they scared of Luna? Because it seems like there's 2 defenders every time he gets the ball. There's 2 defenders stepping to him.
Yeah. So again, I think that's what we have to iron out as we continue with this way of playing. Is anytime our outside backs, because they're in an advanced position, if their outside back releases, we have a 1v1 with a forward. If the timing is good and the pass is good, and I think those passes from our outside backs almost need to lead Gozo to goal as opposed to straight balls, right? A little bit more diagonal so that when he turns on them, he's right in front of him. And those are the questions they have to ask. If not, then Noel and Alex have time to walk up the field. And more times than not, we want them looking inside. Because we have so many numbers in there, even if we give the ball away, we should have a good repressing opportunity for us and then continue the attack going forward.
Pablo, viene el equipo de sumar 10 de los últimos 12 puntos posibles, pero antes de eso venía de una racha de 7 partidos sin ganar. Obviamente se trabaja mejor cuando el equipo está ganando, pero antes de terminar esa racha y empezar con la racha positiva, ¿qué fue quizás lo táctico que tú dijiste, necesito cambiar esto y mover un poco más de esto para poder mejorar quizás en ese aspecto?
Sí.
During the 7-game winless run, what were the tactical changes that you guys made that you thought were necessary to get this run that you guys have now had 4 unbeaten?
So, para mí, yo creo que fueron cambios tácticos, pero también yo creo que Pablo Ruiz ha hecho un muy buen trabajo en el medio campo, porque si tenemos 10 en las posiciones que queremos, necesitamos uno de los pivotes que siempre encuentran los jugadores ofensivos. Los cambios también tácticamente poner 2 jugadores en la línea de frente que pueden estirar la defensa. Antes tuvimos los 2-10, jugamos con un 9, 2-10 y siempre buscaban el balón por abajo. Y es muy fácil para la defensa que siempre quieren ir a presionar que encuentran los 10. Y ahora yo creo con el Willy y el Gozo abre la posibilidad de atacar por atrás de la defensa, pero también abre espacio a los 2 jugadores claves para nuestro grupo para seguir haciendo jugadas para el equipo.
We think Pablo during this time has been doing a great job in the midfield. The idea was with the pivots, to put some pressure in that midfield, and in the back line we wanted to stretch that back line, and recently the work of Gozo and Willy have definitely helped us get in behind that back line to create chances.
Pablo, felicidades por el triunfo. En el segundo tiempo, el equipo de Houston cambió bastante. ¿Qué crees que pasó? Pero aparte, cuando se sufre y se gana, se disfruta también.
Sí.
In the second half, Houston made a lot of changes. Why do you think that that happens? And when you're winning, you do suffer. You know, just explain a little bit of that.
Sí, yo creo que, mira, yo creo que fueron dos cosas. Uno, mandaron más jugadores para adelante, que fue muy difícil a marcar. Pero más que eso, yo creo que cuando nosotros tuvimos el balón, no hicimos buena jugada. O sea, las dos cosas afectaron la psicológica del grupo. O sea, sí, la manera de romper la presión es romper el equipo con el balón. Y yo creo que muchas veces en el segundo tiempo, al inicio del primer tiempo, tomamos malas decisiones con el balón y ahora el Houston empezó a agrandar en la parte psicológica y nosotros también nos tiramos para atrás. Los saques de meta seguimos jugando en la presión y perdiendo el momento para cambiar y manejar el partido un poco mejor. Y eso son cosas que lo vamos a hablar en el video porque son muy importantes, que no podemos aguantar tanta presión en el segundo tiempo. Es muy difícil, pero estoy muy orgulloso del grupo a pelear y no dejar que el Houston marcaba el gol.
In the second half, Houston added more men up front, and psychologically that pushed us back. They were able to hold on to possession. We made some mistakes, and that's something that I want to talk to with the guys, that it's hard for us to continue a whole half with the other team having all this possession because it doesn't allow us to have any chances.
Gracias. Thank you.
Thanks, Pablo.